welcome to the first episode of this podcast, whatever this is, the first of not very many. Maybe this will be the only one ever. I'm here with Hunter O'Connell.
Hello.
Hunter very kindly pledged to my Patreon as the interview level, and so we're going to have a little chat. And Hunter, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I write a lot. I've got my own book series in the Doctor Who universe, and that's pretty fun. I collaborate with other people, and it's all about CWEJ. That's how I pronounce it, but his real name, how it's really pronounced is CWEJ. He's this space age police officer, and he got abducted by these weird powers that be of the entire universe, and he's just going around doing their bidding, basically, and that's the whole thing. Loafers has written a story for that one, so we're pretty well knowledgeable on that one. But I've been writing since I was 7, and now I'm 20, almost 21. So it's really
you're doing really well for someone of your age. I say that as if I'm like 70, but it is impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know how old you are, but
I am 25.
25. Oh, that's nice. Well, I mean, you're a better editor than I was. I actually hired you to edit most of the stories because I couldn't find the time, really.
Yeah, well, it's a brick of a book, and you did fantastic. And I've said this a million times, but thank you so much for having me on. I had a whale of a time.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say I did most of them. I'm looking at the book up on my shelf, up above my head here, and I did about half of that, but half of that book is just a normal book.
My experience was not that I did enough, and that's what I'm planning on doing, getting my foot back in the door, basically, on the future books, because I feel like I had it, in the forefront of my mind for the first year, and then the second year I just kind of shoved it in the back of my mind. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I got into CWEJ basically through a guy named Lars Pearson. He runs Mad Norwegian Press, and he wrote a lot of the Faction Paradox books. Not wrote them, but edited them or published them. He was really kind when I met him. We met at a convention, and he said, what books do you need in Faction Paradox that I can give to you? And I said, well, I need Dead Romance. I need, all these different things. He gave me Dead Romance the next day or something, and
that's really cool.
Dropped him up on the front step of my house because we live in the same city.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Nice guy, really nice guy. Came to my graduation party, which is also pretty cool.
That's so cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
But he's honestly probably my my inspiration for just writing Doctor Who. I didn't know that it was a thing you could do, as a fan. I didn't know you could just gather concepts and write stuff with them if you get the permission.
Yeah, and it's worked out great for all of us.
Yeah.
Once you're in,
Yeah.
And we've talked a bunch about CWEJ. What is it that you love so much about this character? What draws you to him?
How morally ambiguous he is. That's probably my favorite part of it is, he does good things, he does bad things, he does awful things, he does wonderful things. It's really, not really up to how he's feeling that day, but up to what his superiors want him to do. And he doesn't really have a choice in the matter. It's just, if he did, he would have not done it. I don't think
basically.
I don't think anyone would have wanted to have been employed by them. I don't know. He's an average person, and he has human tendencies. That's the thing. He operates like a human. He is just so lively. You can see him almost as if he were a real person, even though he isn't. He has so many different stories that have him in that you could see, so many different things. His character not only dependent on just reading the books, but it's really dependent on understanding how he would feel in a given situation. It's really a tale of, psychology. Just like,
Yes.
getting into a character's mind, getting into, what makes them tick, and I feel like that's what all books should be, but I haven't seen that in a lot of Doctor Who ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Usually it's just about the adventure. Um, and I feel like that's important, but what's really important is the effects of the adventure, how that has an effect on other people's, minds. It was obviously, a lot of different um, segments of my life that, you know, kind of culminated in one idea, let's write for CWEJ. The amount of effort people have put into, like Lawrence Miles in the Book of the War and Dead Romance, writing with him and kind of crafting a whole new era of his life. I felt like that really gave me hope that I could do something similar.
I can tell that you really feel passionately about it. I can hear it when you talk about it, and like just from like how you've gone about the whole project. Yeah, you've kind of said that you didn't realize that writing for Doctor Who is something that you can just do if you get the permission. What was the process on that? How did you go about getting the permission and getting started writing on the book? You don't have to get too into the nitty gritty here, but I think people would be interested in the process.
I asked Andy Lane. I just said, I typed to him, giving him, praise for his work on All Consuming Fire and Original Sin. I said, I really appreciate that. A couple months passed, I think, and I said, we were chatting, of course, in those months, and I just said, hey, would it be okay if I used Chris for a spinoff? And he's like, sure, and that's how it happened.
So like you literally just asked him for permission and like he gave it to you and there wasn't like money exchanging hands or anything like that.
Oh no, I gave him money that was for his story that he wrote.
Oh right, like yeah. You paid him for his work, of course, but like in terms of like
Right.
the rights to use Chris as a character.
Yeah, I mean that didn't really require money. Licensing isn't, like you don't have to pay to have something licensed. I've got a lot of concepts for free, and I've got a lot of concepts that I had to pay for. It's all dependent on how the character, or not the character, how popular the character is and how popular the writer is.
Yeah, and a lot of it probably has to do with proximity to like the BBC and Chris Chibnall and stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really what we're trying to avoid is getting too close. But I mean, I have talked to the BBC. I can tell you that much. It was for something I'd rather not go into, but I'll just go into it. I wanted to use the two companions from the Eighth Doctor books. They were Fitz Craner and Trix Macmillan.
Mm-hmm.
They apparently owned it. The BBC did, and so I got in contact with them saying it's for CWEJ the series. They basically said no, and I said okay, and that's how it worked. But I mean, like, I don't know. It's enlightening to see how they operated.
It's interesting because like stuff like CWEJ, if it just lies in the hands of someone who is of a more generous spirit rather than like the BBC, where like they're running it as a business venture.
Yeah.
Regardless of what like the writer may actually want. I don't know what the situation is there. Like I was there for like kind of the tail end of the process of creating the book, but like the whole thing is kind of a tangle, and like the end project is fab, but it's also like this huge sprawling thing. So tell us a bit about the process of that, because like you've said it was a process over multiple years.
Yeah. I've used all the ideas that I came up with for this book series over the past, I'm gonna say, 8, 9 years. I've just come up with ideas,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm gonna write these down, but I never do. And then I eventually went like, oh, here's an opportunity. I can put them in. I can put them in Wedge. The ideas
Yeah.
that I had were most of the good ones are coming in book two. I felt like I tried my hardest to kind of save the best.
Well, there's good ones in book one as well, in fairness.
Oh, right, right. But I mean, in my opinion, I think the best ideas are in book two. And I know you don't know much about that one yet, but if I could just spoil some things or reveal some things in this book,
Well, this is going out, of course. So share whatever you want to share.
there was this one, people who live in people who live in a colony, and they're basically, you know, uh, they've ran out of food, and they use this genetic splicing machine to become half human, half plant. And so that basically
Ah, yes.
humans with chloroplasts fighting for their survival in an oncoming winter that will last, hundreds of years, um, on this, desolate planet, and like they're trying to, you know, um, carry on their species the only way that they know how, which is abducting more humans and turning them into plant people or whatever.
Mhm.
It's all a tale about survival.
Can you tell us any familiar faces that will be returning in future CWEJ books? Because you've talked a bit about Eighth Doctor companions that you couldn't get your hands on, but are there any that you have?
Yes, I can't talk about the ones that haven't been agreed to yet. There are some TV concepts that I'm still working out. Not just book concepts, but TV concepts. Um, I really wanted to work on. I think I told you about this one. Bringing back Thomas McRae from your finale. Yeah, that would.
Ah, you weren't saying that actually. That would be so cool.
No, no, no. I was going to explain that it would be.
Yeah.
You know who it is.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, you can explain for the listeners. Yes.
Thomas McRae is is hinted at being connected to Chris, the real Chris, the CWEJ V or Fey V.
The original, you might say.
Yeah, the original.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like that's a character that I worked on. I co-wrote for those of you at home. I
Right.
co-wrote that last story in CWEJ down the middle, the first book with Charles Whitt, and it's got Thomas McRae in it as a.
Villain.
I suppose we won't go into it too much for those who haven't read the book, but he's a malevolent. He's a malevolent little so and so,
Right.
and I worked on that character a bit. And it was more Charles's idea, and I kind of played with it. And now apparently Thomas McRae has gotten legs and has gone walking off on his own.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like having a grandkid.
Another familiar face that I can get into is the other, which
Uh huh.
is the Doctor. Basically, it's basically the Timeless
Yes.
Child arc, but for the books. um, and the Lung Barrow is coming back. That's fun. Um,
Hell yeah.
yeah, the Doctor's home place, hometown, home period.
Thing.
Yeah, uh, it's really interesting to see that all these people are like, oh yeah, go ahead, and I I
Yeah.
very rarely have gotten a no, and I think it's people are just so eager to bring back the wilderness years. Um, I don't know, something about it just makes me happy.
Yeah, there's a real community spirit about the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another one I can't really talk much about, but a specific adjudicator that's coming back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know that one. That one is going to be very surprising to the people who are going to be reading the series. Here's another one, another familiar
Uh-huh.
face. not familiar face, but just a familiar concept. If people have read who are listening, have read the Book of the War by Lawrence Miles, or edited by Lawrence Miles, he goes into the Praxis manuscript, which was basically a drug-induced manuscript done by an alien renegade who was captured by the enemy, who's this mysterious, unknown force in the Infection Paradox. Basically, the Praxis manuscript will have, it will have a lot of elements in this, this novella that Thomas is working on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that one. Another thing, I'm pretty sure many people have already picked up on this if they've read CWEJ or Cyberon. But we're talking, or we're communicating with Thebes Publishing and Obverse Books, who have done Faction Paradox and Iris Wildtime for Obverse, and Aramem from from the Big Finish audios for Thebes. So it's it's all gonna be culminating in book 3, which I can't really spoil a lot of, but there's a lot to look forward to there.
Hell yeah, there is.
What else do you have in terms of questions? I mean, just anything. I'm an open book.
The last thing that I wanted to ask you, unless you have anything else you want to talk about is, and I'm copying my friend Molly from Galactic Yo-Yo, bar for bar, word for word. What is your unpopular Doctor Who opinion?
Just one?
Oh, regale me.
Okay.
Do what you want.
Chibnall's good. I like Chibnall a lot.
Wow. I agree, actually.
He's got some weaknesses in terms of just writing, but he's not a bad writer. People say, "Oh, Chibnall's shit, Wigman bad," the whole, I never understood it. I get that it's just the popular thing to do is rail on Doctor Who now, but
yeah, it's always been the popular thing to rail on the current showrunner.
Yeah, I mean, Moffat was railed on quite a bit for his plot twists, and I'm like,
yeah, it was vicious.
Yeah, I mean, they, and then the whole 50th anniversary being, I liked it, but this is another unpopular opinion. The 50th anniversary was kind of lame. It wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I felt like it was just a random Doctor Who story, and it didn't feel like a 50th anniversary special.
Well, they did bring back Gallifrey.
Yeah, that's true. But I felt like it only focused on the new series and the last couple episodes that that aired at that time.
That's fair.
It really felt a product of its time. It didn't feel like something you could flip on if you were a Classic Who fan and were like, "Oh, the 50th anniversary." I mean,
yeah.
You wouldn't understand what was going on. So there's that. The Power of Three is my favorite. It's my favorite Chibnall story. I can't stress it enough that the feeling of time passing in that story, it felt so natural, even if it was solved in a matter of seconds. Oh, zip zap zop, I got my sonic screwdriver, and the plot's over.
Yeah.
But the fact that they got all this information of what was it, 10 years in a single episode of Doctor Who, and it all felt so natural, and it was all linked together with the cubes or whatever. I really like the idea of how does society adapt. That's my favorite idea when it comes to Doctor Who in general. How does society adapt? The Miracle Day. That's it wasn't good, but it was. it had the right ideas. I don't know, something about just showing these weird things that people have to shove into their day-to-day lives, you know? Something about
Yeah.
and that's really how my writing process went for a bright white crack, you know. Um, Huge meteor barely misses the Earth. People are now standing on walls or whatever. You know, it's really
I love the gravity thing. I
yeah.
love the gravity thing.
That was really inspired by just Miracle Day and the Power of Three. Like my opinion was if Laurel and Cole did not save all the if Laurel and Cole did not save all those people, um, at the very end, they probably would have made it anyway. Like it was a symbolic thing, but you know they probably would have adapted, or some of them anyway. You know,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like I don't know. I've always found um I've always okay. Here's another unpopular opinion. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
uh,
Let's go.
the Web Planet is the worst Doctor Who story ever in the history of the
Oh,
show. I cannot stress that enough. The Web Planet's terrible.
wowie zowie. You want to unpack that?
Yeah, it it went on for too long. I could barely understand most of the characters. The acting and directing was the most stiff I've ever seen it. Uh, I read the plot synopsis and was still lost.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah. Like it works for end of Evangelion, but like for Doctor Who,
Yeah, but End of Evangelion's trying to be weird and artsy
right? The Doctor Who
and a
is
bit camp.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about the Web Planet. The whole oh I'm a butterfly that talks and sings song or whatever. That's the whole plot. And
Great.
the bugs are being controlled by a mushroom, and like there's Vaseline on the lens, and just like who came up with this and why? Why did they want to torture me?
Aw.
People always say, "Oh, they were trying new things out. They were trying, and that's what makes it good." Or at least enjoyable for me. But like, I can't separate a terrible story and a good vision most of the time.
Yeah. Although it's funny because you just said that like
Yeah,
Miracle
Miracle Day,
Day
right?
isn't good, but it had the right idea,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I do think it's good to be able to say that like this thing isn't good, but it had the right idea.
yeah, I didn't.
But at the same time, having a good idea doesn't make the thing good.
Right. For me, I didn't see. I still don't get the idea of the Web Planet. It was just a waste of time. It was 7 episodes of nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah.
But
Like I really get both sides of this because like I think I'm not into being overly unkind or harsh on any art, and Doctor Who episodes are no exception to that. But also, like, ideas are the easy bit, you know? It's doing it that's tricky.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I get why they did it. They wanted to make a new thing that rivals the Daleks, and they were overly ambitious or whatever. They overdid
Yeah.
it, but like they could have done a once over on the script, or I don't know. Like I'm not a filmmaker. I never claimed to be, but like I can critique film, and that's what I'm doing here.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to make a film to dislike a film.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have done once over on the script. They should have put me in there. just...
Yeah. I think I mentioned Lars and Cole, and speaking of them, I really want to do something that explains how I've always viewed them. They don't have a lot of interaction with each other and down the middle, and there was a reason for that. And I wanted to get that, kind of in the face of everyone, hammered down in terms of
Yes.
why they aren't interacting with each other, and what they remind each other of. It's something that I really want to do for book 2 or maybe even book 3, but like that's a while in the future. Okay, here's a question that I have for you.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Do you collect rare Doctor Who books? Like, what's the rarest book that you have?
I think the rarest book that I have may actually be Chevet Down the Middle. I have that, and like I have 3 Black Archive books.
Oh,
For those of you who don't know, the Black Archives are like the short academic books about individual Doctor Who stories. Yeah. And yeah, that's all I have
yeah.
on me now. Yeah.
I collect tons of rare Doctor Who books. I have the Havoc Files, the Lethbridge Stewart anthology that has been out of print for
Yes.
years.
Wow. Yeah.
I have what's the Invasion from Space, which
Uh huh.
was the first ever Doctor Who book that was original fiction. Uh,
Dang.
it's like an annual, but it's a little storybook, and it was made in '64,
Huh.
and it's they call him Doctor Who, but like that's you know
Hell yeah.
that's what they did back then. That's
Yeah.
what didn't Wotan do that at one point? I can't from the for the War Machines or something.
Freaking Capaldi did that.
Right. Or Michelle Gomez, right? Uh,
Yeah.
my all-time most rare book though has to be The Cat Who Walked Through Time.
Uh huh. And
That's a fanzine. Um,
oh yeah.
like a fan-made little private binding. It has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Seventh and Eighth Doctor writers who have come together, for charity or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's signed by several of the authors, and I shipped it out to Lance Parkin, and I shipped it out. Well, I got it from. This is the author's copy that was given to Simon Butcher Jones, and I asked, "Hey, I can't find this book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where I could find it?" He said, "Oh, you can have my copy." Uh,
Oh.
and like it's extremely rare. Like it goes for like hundreds of
Yeah.
dollars on eBay. Um,
Wow.
and he gave it to me for he originally said 10 plus shipping, and I'm like, oh, but what? Oh, and then he's like, oh, fine.
Oh.
Okay. I told him how expensive it was. He's like, okay, fine, 15. So it's like, yeah,
uh,
he
what
uh
a cool guy.
yeah. I also got it signed by Lance Parkin and the 2
Uh-huh.
editors of the anthology. So it's um really a collector's item.
That's something special, yeah.
Yeah, I want to get it signed by many other authors. Kate Ordman, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although,
It's good stories in it?
yeah, most of them are online now, I think.
Aha, I see. So it's the Prince edition that's rare, but the stories are like known.
But yeah, I mean,
I
some
understand,
of the
yeah.
stories were posted later on, years later on personal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's
Well, that's good that the stories aren't like semi lost.
yeah. I'm sure they could all be posted one of these days. Maybe I can
Hmm.
scan it and you can acquire it on Mega. No. Uh, cut that part out. Cut that part out. Nobody needs to know. I've just been really happy with the ratings I've been getting for CWEJ. It's been interesting to know that
Yeah.
people enjoy it, and I think I posted in a Discord chat that you're in that I got my first fan fiction, which is fun.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm keeping an eye on it, waiting for Chris to show up.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, something about it really makes me have a weird feeling. Not like a weird feeling in terms of the fan fiction on AO3 and the author or whatever. Just it's an odd feeling to know that your story is getting fan fiction based on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
This is like
did you know
yeah.
Donacho or how whatever Donacho?
Donaco,
Yeah,
yeah. The yeah.
Donacho. He
Yeah.
he the story Infinity was actually a fan fiction. That's
Oh, originally, yeah.
that's how it started out. Yeah. Was this guy saying, "Oh, I wrote a fan fiction about CWEJ going on adventures with this this guy on a train," and I'm like, "Okay," and I read it, and I'm like, "Okay, do you want me to put that in?" And he's like, "What? Sure."
That rules.
I don't, it was originally fan fiction, but
Sure, whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
yeah, he
Yeah, I like that. And then and then Donako comes back.
yeah,
Uh,
that was
yeah,
talked about, with the guy who wrote the fan fiction. He talked about
yeah.
make sure that
Yeah.
he has remorse for whatever heinous crimes he does, and we
Uh-huh.
we added that part in later.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, this guy's very easygoing when it comes to people using his characters. So we just
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
just
yeah. It's Matthew Sachantha, right? I worked with Matthew a bit on the recent 10,000 Dawns anthology that I was involved with, How to Survive the Winter.
right.
He helped out as a sensitivity reader on one of the stories, and he was very good.
Well, that's good. That's good. I've just been very happy with the results that I've gotten for CWEJ. I mean, not the results, but the reviews.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I hope to get more
yeah.
reviews in.
Yeah.
We were actually going to use this advertisement method that would have given us, thousands of sales, likely. But um, James Wilder said to wait for after Christmas so that people could use gift cards for or whatever.
Oh, smart. Can I ask what that is, or should we not?
I mean,
What is that?
just it's a list that I was told to keep secret. But it's like,
Okay, we're keeping it secret. That's okay.
yeah, it's just I don't want anybody to get the same idea, and
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. I understand you.
yeah. But it's basically just advertising across the board. Just
Uh-huh.
you know different deals or whatever, getting it into lists of books that people could vote on for the best one. It's really just getting the word out is the hard part. Um,
Of course, yeah.
yeah. Um,
Because nowadays there's just like a huge wealth of content and anyone can access it, but it means that it's so much more difficult to make yourself stand out.
right. Yeah, that's true. Um, I think that my main inspiration for just writing was okay. Don't laugh about that. No, you can laugh about it.
Sure, go on.
Chowder, the cartoon on Cartoon Network about the
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
just it was ridiculous. That I got into writing because of a cartoon. I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. What if I?
Oh, well, like, I think a lot of people on some basic level as a kid got into writing because of cartoons.
Right, or art or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, when I was tiny, I started out because I was writing fanfic for Fairly Odd Parents, which mercifully I never posted anywhere because it was just ripping off the SpongeBob movie.
oh no, oh no. I'm sorry about laughing. I just that's.
No, it's okay. It's funny.
But yeah, I mean, like I was extremely into. I think I actually wrote my own little Chowder fan fiction too. It was a weird
Hell
show. It
yeah.
was bizarre. It was
Yeah.
off the walls. Just oh, I think I can't even remember what it was about. Some sort of apprentice, and he was like a chef or something.
Yeah.
And like
So I assume he made chowder.
yeah,
Or maybe he was chowder?
Chowder was, I think, the apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
And every character was named after a food dish, and they all had very distinct personalities. It was so weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed it as a kid. And
Yeah.
and that's really what inspired me to write, was just, oh, what if I could do what all these cartoon creators are doing, and
Yeah.
write my own little jokes in a narrative form.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a long 20 years without really a direction. I feel like
You're doing pretty well for someone without a direction.
right. Well, I don't know. I think that writing is a good thing to aspire toward, but like, I'm not sure if it's something I want to do for the rest of my life. You know?
I get you.
Yeah, it's just, what if I find something better? Will I stop writing? It's really the struggle of, managing your time.
Sure. Well, like, I don't know. That's it. That's a big topic. I don't want to try to give you advice on that just off the cuff.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. It looks like we're almost at an hour. We can.
So where can people buy CWEJ Down the Middle?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you can find books, eBay, anywhere.
To be clear, it is spelled CWEJ Down the Middle. Hunter, I was going to ask you, where can people find you online, but can people find you online?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page. It's Hunter O'Connell, and you'll see like a little picture of me leaning against a bench in a blue shirt or something.
Yeah. Is that like a public thing, or is that just like for close friends?
No, if people like CWEJ, they can friend me. I don't care.
Cool. And I suppose I may as well promote myself while I'm here. Hi, my name's Mark. I've written for CWEJ, of course. I also write for... Well, I say that I write for 10,000 Dawns, but it's more that I'm a project manager for this one thing in 10,000 Dawns. In any event, I'm in that mix as well with Archbeetle Press, and also a little bit with Wars. And I do media crit, I podcast. Generally, I mess around. Yeah. And you can find me at marklaherty.wordpress.com. That's marklaherty.wordpress.com. Or you can find me at Loafers Writes on Twitter, which is Loafers like the shoe and Writes like the verb.
Yeah.
That's my deal.
And I think if people really want to, get into CWEJ but don't know where to start, or just get into the Archbeetle, shared universe kind of thing, they can definitely wait on the hardback, which is still a thing that's coming out.
I'm stoked for that.
Yeah.
It's going to be so pretty.
Yeah. And so I've just, I've just been very happy to have been included on this podcast. You've done a wonderful job.
Well, you're here because you've been very generous,
Right. And, I've become a patron, and,
yes.
I guess for me, it's just been, it's really been an honor to work with people like you, or, just in the same kind of personality type as a person who would enjoy Doctor Who. I just...
Well, thank you. You're very sweet.
Oh, thank you. I really do enjoy, talking about the process that I've had with CWEJ. So if anybody wants to, continue this conversation on Facebook, I'd be more than willing to, for one, persuade you to go buy the book, but but also just, converse with you about what to expect. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no.
Goodbye.
See ya.